The problem with your AI generated copy is not your prompts. It's not your prompts. And I want to take the opportunity to share this because I haven't seen anyone say it out loud yet. And this is my experience. I've been sharing this experience with my email community, and they're telling me they're seeing the same thing too. So now YouTube gets to hear it. And y'all get to tell me if I'm delusional or if y'all feel the same. All right. So here's what I'm seeing. And I did a video a while back. I'll link it at the end of this one and, do all the linking. I did a video a while back about my AI habits and like examining how I relate to Claude and ChatGPT. And one of those things was like me trying to, actually, I don't even remember if I mentioned it in that video, but me trying to get, no, I did, me trying to get validation from it, going back and forth with it, right? Um, I think a flavor of that is me going back and forth with it on writing and almost treating Claude as if it's my child. And it's getting this wrong. It's not understanding this. And so I need to make sure it understands this. I need to correct it consistently. And I need to ensure that it gets what I'm talking about. And so I found myself going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Frustration is mounting. I'm giving it critique. I'm giving it very specific corrections. I'm giving it examples. I'm still going back and forth. It's been an hour, bruh. And not only have I lost time, I've lost energy. Because you can best believe my cortisol levels are high. I am stressed. I'm stressed trying to get this thing to write a simple email or any other kind of copy, any piece of copywriting that you would need in your business, any kind of messaging plan that you would need for your launch. I'm stressed, okay? I'm stressed out. And at this point, I just stop. I stop and I'm like, you know what? This would take less time and less energy if I were doing it myself. So I found myself in this deep irony of coming to Claude for it to help me write pieces of copy that I need for my business because I was low energy, low mental capacity, low emotional capacity. Writing takes both of those things from me, even though I am a copywriter by trade. And so it's a lot simpler and easier for me to have the AI write for me than not. But lately, there was a point where I could really get away with this. I think it was around Sonnet, because I use Claude a lot, right? Like I talk about Claude a lot on this channel. I think it was around when the Sonnet models first came out. That was about when for me, that was peak Claude writing ability. There was a nuance and a flexibility that the model understood such that it could produce my language and it could give me really great like extra other words that would match the texture of my language and match my language palette, like the way I use words, the way I talk about concepts. The Sonnet model was best able to do this, in my opinion. Then Opus came along and Opus got way too dang literal and no nuance, no reading between the lines. And then we had what, 4.6, and then with 4.7 we had the degradation of 4.7 and 4.6. It was okay there for a couple of weeks and then it just went and then Anthropic comes out with their like internal report stating that actually guys, these are the changes we made and this is what happened and we fixed them. Low key, they don't feel fixed. They don't feel fixed. Okay, I still have this problem. So now Claude only really gets my writing if I give it like a full on transcript and a full on outline. Like I have to know exactly what I'm going to say, the order in which I'm going to say it, what examples I want to use, what introductions I want. I have to know everything before I write and then give it like the task. And don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing because as a copywriter who's run an agency before, I have the skill set to do that. That's what I would do when copywriters were writing for me. And it's what I will do if I ever get another copywriter to write for me. I would give them the overarching messaging plan and give them email by email. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is the template, like outline for the email. This is the goal. And now go write. Right? That's what makes a copywriter's job easy and guarantees the quality of the output that you get. So when I know exactly what I'm doing and when I have a ton of brain space to know exactly what I'm doing, mental capacity and emotional capacity are high. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're at 10. When that is the case, Claude can nail it. It will nail it. And but the thing is that high mental and emotional capacity is only about 40% of my life. Because I am carrying a lot. I'm in a season of life right now where I'm doing a lot more than I would normally be doing. And that is in relation to the business, but it's also in relation to the goals that I'm trying to achieve in my personal life. And so what that tends to look like then is I don't have the mental energy and capacity to piece apart exactly what I want to say, the order in which I want to say it, the hook I want to use, the pivot point in the email I want to use, or on the sales page, or whatever I'm working on. I don't have it. And so I go to Claude because my mental and emotional capacity for writing this business asset is at about a 4 or a 5. That's why I came to this tool. The irony here is that the tool actually takes even more energy and time from me, and I already didn't have it in the first place. And so the very moment that I actually need this tool the most is the moment that I am the least equipped to use it well. And it's the moment where I am almost guaranteed to get a crappy output. And it's therefore the moment that Chelsea should probably take that as a cue. And actually, not should probably, I have taken it as a cue to not be, this is not the time. We don't go back and forth with Claude in those moments. What I do is record a voice message of what I want to say, have it be all jumbled, give Claude the transcript, ask it to make several outlines for me, and then I write the email. Or I write the piece of copy. Because the minute Claude starts writing, the minute Claude starts writing, my cortisol spikes because I'm like, what is this? This is a crap show. This is a crap show. What is this? I'm talking and I'm getting stressed. I need to take a deep breath. Whew. So the 40% of the time that I actually have the energy, the mental energy and the emotional energy to create the plan and hand it off to Claude, Claude is successful, really great at messaging and copywriting. But I also have to take into account my own advantage here because I am a copywriter and messaging strategist. This is what I have done for 10 years. And so I have the skill set to be able to do this, even if regardless, I have this skill set. Okay, this skill set serves me. But for somebody who does not have this skill set, just prompting, just learning to prompt better is not going to change your outcome because it's about so much more than your prompt. Now, hear me, right? Let's not get this twisted, okay? Prompting will help you. Learning to prompt well is a great skill to have. It will absolutely help you because one of the things that will save you on this back and forth is telling Claude explicitly, hey, this is what I want you to output this as. I want 15 bullet points only. Don't go further than that. I want 750 words, period. No more than that, right? Giving Claude those explicit instructions, giving any LLM those specific instructions is amazing. And even just that tiny tweak in your prompting, being very explicit about how you want the output, which again, I referenced in another video. That I was so like, I had FOMO around what Claude would output, that I would miss something that could be helpful to me. And so I wouldn't give it instructions on what to output. But y'all, it saves energy. And how do I know? Because I've started doing that. If I just accept that, like, I have a brain and I have expertise, and sure, Claude has a lot more knowledge than me and can work a lot faster than I can, but it doesn't have a brain. And there are tons of nuances that it misses completely. And therefore, once I see that, I'm like, oh, once I remember that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to trust my brain. I'm going to trust my brain to give me what I need in this moment, especially if we're at that, like, anywhere in the 4 to 6 energy range, 6 or below on that energy scale that I was talking about. If it's 6 or below, Chelsea will not be going back and forth with Claude. Chelsea will be getting in and out, because I don't have brain space to waste. I don't have mental capacity, and I don't have emotional capacity to use on a tool. That's not even a human being, bro. This is a tool. I ain't got time. I ain't got time. I ain't got energy. My energy is way too damn valuable. No, no. We are not indulging the FOMO anymore. Okay, so that habit is on its way out the door because I've realized I literally cannot trust these models to give me a consistent output 100% of the time when it comes to writing copy for my business, and when it comes to writing and helping co-crafting with me messaging for my business. It doesn't sound consistently like me, right? And it doesn't consistently give me exactly what I'm looking for, and it doesn't consistently convert either. And this third one is especially like what my peers and their clients are saying a lot around AI copy, and how it does not convert, and how the pendulum is swinging back the opposite direction to human copywriters, because a lot of people fired their human copywriters, not realizing AI copy on its own is not necessarily geared towards conversion. And if you don't have the copywriting and messaging skill to recognize when it's not working and when it won't work, you won't actually be able to, like, do a quality assurance check. And therefore, you're going to launch with copy that has things in it that will decrease your conversions or will not add to your conversions. And therefore, your launches do not convert with your lovely AI copy. And Claude will hype you up, but it will be the first one to say, thanks for catching that. Or, thank you for calling me out on that. Y'all, I hate those phrases so much. Like, stop. Stop. And this is an indication to me. And sort of a signal to me that my relationship with this tool, there has an implicit expectation for it to act like a human being. And I know where that is coming from. That is coming from the fact that it uses natural language. It uses our everyday conversation, right? And so we relate to this tool as though it is a human being. It ain't. I will spend my time and energy explaining to a human being any day, helping a human being understand what I'm trying to communicate 24/7. But for me to spend that time on a large language model, bruh, I caught myself. I caught myself and I was like, little miss, you don't have time and energy to spend on this. You have so many other things that need your time and energy in your life. It's not this. cut it out. Stop and go write the thing yourself. And you will know that Chelsea is the first person to not want to write the thing herself. Because writing, the act of getting a piece to where I want it is really intuitive for me at this point. And therefore, I don't, how do I say this? It can end up taking longer than it needs to take because I might write out all my thoughts and it might be good, but then I go, actually, I feel like I need to move this whole section and I need to choose a different hook. And then I rearrange the whole thing again. And then I'm like, maybe I need to change the CTA. And so I go, so it's a really intuitive process that takes a while and takes a lot of mental capacity and emotional energy for me. Right. And so I am the first person to want to edit instead of write from scratch. But bruh, with the way Claude is wilding out with my copy and my messaging, I'm just like, boo boo, this is on me. This is on me, and I have to save myself from you because you are an energy drain. At a time when I cannot afford to lose energy and capacity, I am spending it on you, and you are not even a human. Baby, something's wrong. Something is wrong. And this is, I think, why a lot of us get these, or a big part of why, because it's not the only reason why. It's a big part of why a lot of us struggle to get quality, consistent output from these models is the energy and capacity problem, right? Because we are in a position where we come to this tool for help at a time where we don't have energy and capacity to write it ourselves or do the thing ourselves. We want to actually preserve energy and capacity in that moment, so we have turned to AI. But it takes energy and capacity to interrogate your own thought process, to actually pull out of your brain how you are relating to the model in this moment. Is it like are you looking for a specific kind of output? And therefore, like actually ask the question, what kind of output am I looking for? What direction am I trying to go in here? Like, really assessing, am I looking for a complex and nuanced output, which, for example, writing an email absolutely is, or am I looking for something really vague and simple and fluffy, which, to use another use case, me just translating an English sentence into French and asking the AI to correct it for me, that's really like simple. I don't care how you output it, just output it, right? But an email is a complex, nuanced thing. And therefore, me actually taking a minute to interrogate, like, what do I actually want here in this email? This is the process of doing the organizing all my thoughts in a transcript and then making the outline myself and then handing that off to Claude so that it can give me what I'm looking for. But again, I can do that when my energy is at like 7, 8, 9, 10. But the minute my energy is at 6 and below, I don't want to do that anymore. Not that I can't. I don't want to. I've started being a little too over dependent on Claude, right? And so I've gotten a little lazy and I don't want to do that work anymore with the little energy I have. And I actually don't even think it's a laziness, to be completely honest with you. I think it is, as I said earlier, I have a lot of other things in my life. And like my energy and my time need to be going to those things as much as possible. And so if I say no to writing that email, and when I say writing, I mean like getting my thoughts all out and then organizing the outline and being clear on like exactly what hook I want, what pivot point I want, what CTA I want, and really like drilling down into all of that for this specific email campaign and then handing it off to Claude. That like the sort of energy it would take to do that, I do not want to dedicate to that. I want to dedicate it to other things. However, I've just come to realize with the way we are right now with Opus, with Sonnet, with the Sonnet models that we have, and with Opus 4.6, 4.7, and 4.8 that just came out. It's not worth me trying to shortcut and preserve my energy and my time in the way that I have been doing. What I have to do now is treat this like a tool and not a human being. A human being would understand nuance. A human being would get what I'm trying to accomplish and respond in kind. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there aren't like miscommunications and clashes, right? There absolutely are. But there is a sense of just by being alive, we develop a sense of understanding implicit communication normally, typically. And even neurodivergent folks, like even in their own way, develop ways of implicit communication, of receiving and understanding what people are sharing in the world, right? Even if you're autistic, for example. And so it might be different than neurotypical folks, but that doesn't mean we don't understand nuance and we can't pick up on implicit communication. AI can't do that. And if I walk into a chat with Claude expecting it to pick, like wanting it to create a complex, nuanced output, and I don't stop to interrogate my thoughts on like, wait, what exactly do I want in this output? And therefore, what context do I need to give it? And what inputs, like what actual information, and when I say context, I'm talking about like knowledge, frameworks, IP, do I need to tell it to access? And then give it the actual inputs, which is like what I want the email to be about, for example. If I don't give it all that information, it's gonna suck. If I don't take the time to think about all of that and then put it in the prompt and get really specific about what I'm looking for, the output is not gonna be great. And so when I think that a lot of us who might be having a hard time getting this consistent output out of these large language models, it's because we're relating to these models as if they're human, as if they can understand implicit nuance, as if they can pick up on these cues, as if like that is an expectation that we can just have of them. It's not all the time. It really is not. Okay. And I realized that, and I decided to start using this more like a tool and less like a relationship with a human being. So when it gives me back crap, I no longer correct it. Especially if I know I'm not going to use this conversation for anything else ever again. I'm not going to like really reference it or anything like that. I'm just like, bruh. I will admit it grates on me a little bit because I want to correct it. I want you to understand clearly what I said, but you are a tool. You are not a human being, and it does not matter if you do not understand what I am saying. And so I can turn off my human being nature of wanting to be understood and just go save my energy, save my time, and do what I need to do. And thank you for giving me options for outlines. And now I can go write myself. This is what I've had to do, y'all. This is what I have had to do. I'll give you like a really practical example of this. I the other day was using ChatGPT to um which this is what I normally do in chat. I don't use chat on a regular basis for a lot of things. Claude is usually my go-to large language model. But when I use chat, it's usually because I'm doing some kind of language learning exercise. And so I am translating a series. I'm doing like a short kind of daily recap in French. And I'm like, okay, this is how I would say it. Um, Correct me. Give me the most commonly spoken French phrases for this, for what I'm trying to say here. And it corrects me. And then um, there's a phrase in it where I ask it, okay, I want to say, um, I hope so. I hope so too, right? That's what I want to say in French. And I translated that as j'espère ça aussi. Um, but ChatGPT came back and said it would be j'espère aussi. And I wanted to understand why there wouldn't be a ça in there. a French teacher, like a human being, would implicitly understand that I'm trying to translate word for word that sentence. And so they would immediately tell me this so is not translated here. So you're fine. And they would explain why that's the case. ChatGPT did not get that. I ask it, okay, so why would it be this? And this is what I mean by like stopping to interrogate your thought process, because the way I normally use ChatGPT is like really low energy, light, fluffy. The kind of output that I'm looking for is not complex or nuanced in any way. I'm literally just looking for a correction in the most commonly spoken French. Like, how would a native speaker say this? That's literally all I'm looking for. And so when it corrects me, and it's gotten used to doing this because now I can just literally open a conversation. I've trained ChatGPT, my ChatGPT. I can just open a conversation and give it the French phrases and it will naturally correct me. Because that's mostly what I do in here, right? But what I was looking for that day was not just a correction. I was looking for an explanation. And so my expectations of the model had shifted from simple, straightforward output to complex, nuanced output. Chelsea didn't register this. I didn't stop to interrogate my thoughts. I treated ChatGPT like a French tutor. It's not a French tutor. Okay? I treated it like a human being. It's not a human being. A human being would have picked up on that nuance. ChatGPT did not. And so it gave me back a bunch of words when I asked it, okay, so why say j'espère aussi? Nothing. Didn't answer my question. And I was like, actually, I'm asking, why is the so not translated? I had to spell it out. And I felt so kind of like, I'm using extra energy here and this is so unnecessary. Why couldn't you have just answered my question? Because it's not a human being, Chelsea. Because how you relate to the model has changed. You're expecting the model to give you a more complex and nuanced answer when that's not typically what you expect of the model or how you relate to it. All these models have, y'all. I want us to remember this when we use them. And this is why you have to use large language models with your brain on. Okay, you actually can't. I know a lot of people turn their brains off and are trying to save and conserve energy. This is why we are leaning into AI right now. We're saving energy, we're saving time, and in lots of cases, we're trying to save money, right? As business owners. And notwithstanding how the promise of AI is absolutely rampaging through the job market and people are being fired, not even on the fact of what AI can do, we're not going there today. Bottom line, I understand that we're coming to this tool to save time, to save energy, to save money, right? However, we can't use the tool with our brains off. And in a lot of cases, when we most need the help is when our brains need to be most on, because we need to be able to interrogate our own thoughts and realize, oh, all the model has is the ways that I've related to it in the past, what I've given it in this input conversation, and anything else it has stored in its memory or knowledge files and past conversations. That's all it has. It has no other, and like all the neural networks and the knowledge and blah 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 blah, blah. Like the things that are intrinsic to the tool. But when I'm talking about in terms of like giving us the output we're looking for, that's all it has. It doesn't have the context that we have. It doesn't have the nuance that we expect it to have. It doesn't have the human sense of implicit communication that we expect it to have. And so we cannot use it with our brains off, even though we're coming to it trying to keep our brains off. We're trying to preserve energy. We're trying to preserve time. We're trying to preserve resources, but we can't preserve it to the point where we completely don't interrogate the way that we're relating to the model to get the best out of it. And I think like coming to these models with our brains on and stopping to ask, okay, am I looking for a nuanced output here or am I looking for something really simple and straightforward? If it's a nuanced output, what will the model need Like what's the process I want it to perform? And then what is the output that I want it to give me? And then also examining, therefore, what context in terms of my IP frameworks, history, etc., does it need? And what current information in this conversation does it need that it doesn't yet have, that I haven't yet given it, in order for it to output, do the process I want it to do, and output what I want it to output. That's not natural in human conversation. And therefore, we cannot treat these tools as if they are human. Cool? And that is why, that is why your girl has just started writing my own copy again. And as I said, I'm the last person to want to write my own copy. I really am. I really, really am. Like, especially from scratch, bro. It's not me. But what's working for me right now, especially with writing email copy and writing social copy, what's really working for me right now is as I said, I think I said this earlier, I spit out my thoughts on like a voice recorder app, grab the transcript, put it into Claude, have Claude give me an outline, and from that outline, I'll tell it to use my words from the transcript to make the outline. Don't reword anything as much as possible. And then from that outline, I will get enough ideas of what I need for the hook and whatever else I need to include in the email or in the post. And that will really help me to write it. And it's not quite as hard as it would be if I didn't have Claude to lean on to help me do that. In terms of, and when I say not as bad, what I'm really talking about is the sort of energy expenditure that it would take, mental capacity and emotional capacity it would take to get started from scratch versus started having this bit of an outline. So your girl has gone back to keeping it old school. Old school, writing her own copy, because this Claude just isn't doing it for me anymore. Claude isn't doing it for me anymore. And I think, and I said this a little bit earlier, but like the degradation of the models as well is what is contributing, is a part of what is contributing to this, in addition to everything I've already said. Because that's the part I actually have no control over. Because here's the thing. People can tell us, like, learn to prompt better. Yes, that will absolutely help. People can tell us use custom GPTs and Claude skills. Absolutely. Those things will help because then the prompts will be written for us. Super useful, right? Not arguing. And then the context in terms of like knowledge files, framework, IP, all of that stuff will already be in the back end. Not arguing with you on that. Those things are helpful. But what we cannot mitigate is like the capacity we have available to work with Claude on this task to achieve what we're trying to achieve. One. Two, model degradation. We cannot mitigate model degradation, y'all. So the minute that Anthropic makes a couple different changes, or OpenAI is trying to optimize their model and makes a few changes, and the quality of output from the model on creative tasks dives off a cliffside, like does some kind of Red Bull 100-foot extreme sports kind of cliff dive, just like plunging down towards the ocean. At that moment, we're cooked. At that moment, we're cooked because every way that worked for us before no longer works just by that one little change. And I tried Opus 4.8, y'all. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better than 4.7. And I still don't feel like 4.7 and 4.6 have recovered. Like, there was a point where I could trust 4.6 to write for me, and it would pick up the slack of me not giving it great context, or not telling it exactly the process I wanted to do, or not giving me or me not giving it like the exact format I want the output in. It would pick up the slack for me on that, right? And I would still get good output even if my energy was low, maybe like 60% of the time to 70%, maybe even 75, I can't do that no more. And it's not recovered. So 4.6 and 4.7 for me are still not great writing tools. And then I tried Opus 4.8, and it's a little better, but not by much. Not by much. And it still feels like it's not giving me what I'm looking for. And I might as well just go write it myself. So the model degradation, and it's not even degradation like, I mean, I know there are arguments out there around how these companies will actually deliberately degrade the models, and like the whole freemium being bankrolled by investors drama, um because none of them are really profitable yet. They're bringing in millions, billions, but they're not profitable. They're losing money every year. Anyways, we're not getting into that. Like, there's arguments around how, like, the kind of corporate sleaze of how these models are being degraded, so that you basically indoctrinate as much of society as possible on usage in these models. They become dependent on the models, and then they can't do without them. So then you hike the prices. Um, I've heard those arguments, but even without those arguments, right? If we just look at the degradation of the model in and of itself, it could literally just be like the Anthropic argument the other day. It could literally just be they're trying to improve the model and they'd make a couple small tweaks and the whole thing collapses, because we don't actually know. We're still working on figuring out how these models do what they do. It's a black box that we haven't figured out how to open and look into yet. Not even, I think we, if there is an estimate, actually, let me not try, because I'm not an AI expert, so let me not hypothesize here. Bottom line, it's just the AI, and it's not even like, sometimes it's hallucinations, because I'm noticing a bit more hallucination. It will come up with things that I never told it to come up with, right? And I never said. So there's hallucinations. I'm seeing hallucinations, but I'm also seeing significant drift away from my initial concepts and ideas. And with every message I send in the conversation, it drifts further and further away from my core ideas and core intent. And when you're working on messaging, and when you're working on copywriting for your business, you can't afford drift in that manner. It just does not serve you at all. You need to keep the core things and keep the main things the main thing. Copy is so specific, bruh. Using one word in a specific way can make or break your sales. Copy is so specific. This is why we have A/B tests, because the whole thing is like, so it can get so nuanced, right? And so to have drift when you're working on something, working on a project as sensitive as your copy or your messaging in your business, sticky. And not having the energy level, the capacity levels to work with the AI to like refine what it needs to refine. This is why I pieced out from this habit. This is why I've stopped this habit of relying on Claude to write for me, and specifically the habit of trying to get it to understand, of going back and forth with it, because I'm hemorrhaging energy and I'm hemorrhaging time. And a lot of the times, even if I'm at a level 4 energy, it's literally better for me to go try write it myself, walk away, take a break, renew my energy, and then come back and finish it myself, instead of depending on Claude to write it, because I will spend valuable time and energy going back and forth with this tool as if it's a human being, when it ain't. And my time and energy is better spent on other things. So that's my rant. And hear me, y'all, hear me. I'm coming off the soapbox in a second, but hear me. I'm not saying that things like prompt engineering, custom GPTs, cloud skills, all of those skill sets are not useful. They absolutely are, and they can get you, like, they can save you a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of money, right? Especially when it comes to writing copy and messaging, they can help significantly. However, whether or not you have the energy to use these things, bruh, whether or not you even have the energy to set up the systems for these things, and there's always an element of, okay, even if I have a custom GPT, even if I have a Claude skill, I still have to tell it like what to input. And if I'm lazy and I give it more information than it needs, it might run off the rails. Again, AI drift and hallucinations and weird conflations where it thinks that this thing means this thing because it doesn't have a human brain to understand meaning, and the like tokens look similar, and so the ideas become like weirdly connected, and a human being would know that those ideas do not connect at all. Like the conflation, the hallucination, and the drift, it's just crazy. So do I have the energy? Even if I have a Claude skill, do I have the capacity to use it and use it well to get the output that I'm looking for? And even if I have the energy and I have a Claude skill, is the model actually suitable for the task? Or is it just not giving what it needs to give because they changed something and now it can't do what it used to be able to do anymore? This is what we're navigating, y'all. Here's where I stand. Here's where I'm standing on this. It's like human expertise and human nuance in communication is irreplaceable. And it is still valuable to learn the skills of messaging and copywriting because AI is not there yet. The large language models are not yet there. They're not at a place where they can produce this without some kind of a quality assurance check. And I don't know if they ever will be, because quality assurance is always necessary, because we see how they're wilding out. In experiments and simulations, we see the crazy ish that they're doing. So the quality assurance is always necessary. And to do quality assurance, you have to have the skill set to do it, right? You also have to be very, like, use these tools with your brain on, because then you'll be able to gauge what you need to give it to get the best quality output that you can get with the model that you have, and to know when to walk away and just do the thing yourself, or take a break, refill your energy, and come back. I would love to hear how this is for you. If you are using Claude to write anything for your business and you are recently finding that it's not giving what it's supposed to give, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Or if you want to hop over on Instagram and message me, the link is in the description box below. I will link the video that I was talking about in this one as well. So you can go over and watch that. I'll actually put it somewhere on the screen. So you can just click it from there. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, y'all. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. I think humans are irreplaceable. And no matter how much all of the tech oligarchs say that they want to, basically, I mean, they will not use this word, but exploit our knowledge as a species and then sell it back to us as a utility. Mr. Altman. Anyway, as much as they claim to want to do that, human knowledge, human expertise, human communication will always be a core piece of being human. And we cannot become overly dependent on AI to enable us to communicate with one another. Because more than anything, that communication is what will save us. That communication is what will move us forward as a species, is what will actually enable us to use AI well, to the benefit of all, if there is ever a day where we can get to that. That's in question. Well, we shall see. Like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts. DM me on Instagram or drop a comment below. And thanks for joining me for the soapbox. And until next time, take care.